All right, we'll bring you that full report in just a moment. Chriselda Lewis is at the scene. Chriselda, something is happening there. Take us through it.
Well, that's right, Bongiwe. Police officers as well as police divers are on the scene of yet the discovery of another body, and the forensics teams have just arrived in order to remove the body from this location at Highbury, where the remains of yet another victim of these floods is being taken away. We'll just turn with my colleague, who is with the forensics team as they remove the body here from the scene. Bongiwe, you would know this is just a couple of hours just before the provincial day of mourning is being observed. And the rescue teams, you would know, have been working around the clock to try and retrieve as many of the bodies as possible. Of course, the last death toll that we had received was at 90. So I am sure we will get an update from the provincial government about now, of course, the possibility of this death toll being much higher. The rescue teams as well as divers had already indicated that they were going to continue with the search, Bongiwe, because you can only imagine with the strength of the current of those floods, as we have been hearing. The expectation was that once those waters subside, we will have more bodies that will be recovered from these waters. Just some of the documentation that is being taken here now, the processes that are followed once there is a retrieval of a body. And perhaps this would be some kind of closure for one of the families then now who would need to go and identify these remains. The clip that you just played, Bongi, where you would know that family that we spoke to today, we're still waiting for news. The wife that was speaking on that clip, waiting for news on her husband, and also waiting for news on the whereabouts of her two children. Sadly, her third child had passed away. In fact, it was her sister's child. And these are the teams that have been working tirelessly in the wake of these devastating and deadly floods to retrieve the remains of some of these victims. I know that these police officers are not at liberty to speak to us at this particular stage, but where this body was found was near the river at Highbury. And here at Highbury is where this latest discovery has been made. We were told by the divers Sorry, gentlemen, I know you're not at liberty to speak to the media. Do we have any details, perhaps? It was found in this area. Oh, all right, in this area. Unfortunately, we are not at liberty to speak to these police officers. They're not, Blaine, you would know, as well as Bongiwe. Blaine, the executive producer, of course, of The Full View, who I've been in contact with, that this latest discovery perhaps would be some kind of closure for whichever family now would need to go and identify. In that clip that we also played for you a bit earlier on, many of the families making their way to the pathologists, the forensics, and that's where the identifications are being made. Families who are still waiting for news on the whereabouts of those that are still unaccounted for. And what we are hearing at this stage is that the expectation is that this body count will rise. The families that we spoke to, including in that clip, Bongiwe, is that the families are only wanting closure, even though some of their family members are unaccounted for at this stage. Of great concern for them is that earlier on when I spoke to one of the family members, they said whether it's the bones, whether it is the bones of their family members, all they want to do. You see, these are the search and rescue teams that have been working tirelessly. I'm going to ask my colleague to just move a little bit so we can pave some way here for the rescue teams, which are going to move from this area now. And I think due to the darkness at this stage, all right for today, just confirming. All right, just confirming there, a bit off camera because they're not at liberty to speak to the media. You have the operation itself. It's quite dark now, Bongiwe. So in an instance like this, you're obviously going to have the recovery mission being called off due to the fact that it is quite dark now. The police divers, the rescue teams are obviously not going to be able to operate in these very poor lit circumstances. So calling it off for now. This is where the remains of this latest victim have been found here in Highbury. I'm sure there's going to be an updated statement that will follow from the provincial government, given the fact that at the last Bongiwe that we spoke, we had spoken about the death toll being at 90, and not to be drawn too much into the numbers, these are families, these are fathers, these are children who've all been victims of this devastating floods, and the rescue teams are now leaving this area. It is quite dark, and the expectation is that they will resume tomorrow. And indeed, as you pointed out, we will have the provincial day of mourning taking place tomorrow, where a number of dignitaries are expected to join the families in remembrance of their loved ones. This is also while many community members who lost their homes in this devastation are also still housed in community walls, in B&Bs. They've lost everything. The clip that we showed you before you came live to us as they removed those remains are families who've lost absolutely everything. The homes have been razed to the ground. This is the story of the devastation of what my colleagues and I here in the Eastern Cape have been covering for a number of days now. So tomorrow will be that day of remembrance. And while they're being housed in these B&Bs as well as the community centres, we understand that there are plans that are also being made to ensure that there is a piece of land that is also set aside for these community members so that they are able to get a permanent place for them to stay. Some of them don't want to move from these areas that they've been moved to. They want to be close to the areas where they've lost their homes. You can understand the sentimental value of that, Bongi, where you don't want to be far away from the devastation, hoping to rebuild. But for some of them, there is absolutely nothing to rebuild, Bongiwe. So breaking news in this hour is that another body has been recovered, this time here in Highbury, which is also in Mthatha, in one of the areas that had been affected. Now, the search for the bodies continues in vast areas, Bongiwe, precisely because in the areas where there'd been these very strong waters, the bodies were expected to flow from one area of the river possibly to the other side. So it's been a wide search by these recovery teams, the rescue teams, in order to try and find or to bring closure to these families. So breaking news indeed that one of the bodies, so the latest bodies in this tragedy has been recovered this evening here in Mthatha.
And Chriselda, just before I let you go, you speak about the operation itself, because Gift of the Givers is saying that this operation is not likely to end anytime soon. And I'm listening to what you're saying. Families still left with many questions. And then you still have a lot more families that still need to go and identify the bodies that are at the mortuary. So certainly it speaks about just how much work lies ahead for everyone involved here.
Oh, precisely, Bongiwe. I mean, almost everyone that we've spoken to who has a family member who is unaccounted for at this stage, every day has been a trek to the forensics. And the lady who was speaking on camera a few moments ago in that clip, saying that every time she goes to the forensics, she gets there and she finds the remains of somebody else's loved one, but it's never hers. You can tell that there's a sense of desperation. It will come with some kind of closure, not the closure that they want because their loved ones are no more. They spoke about the hours that have been trickling, the hours as the time goes by, as the days go by. Their hope does dwindle, but they still try to hold on to some kind of faith that even if their loved ones are not found alive, a gentleman said to me, at least their bones. That would mean they'll be able to bury their loved ones and at least know that their loved ones are no more and they're able to heal and find some closure. So that's the sense that, we get from these families as we speak to them on a daily basis. That desperation still there, and it's bound to go on for a number of more days as this provincial day of mourning continues or starts tomorrow. In fact, will take place tomorrow. Many more families, others that will be in attendance there. It will be a reminder that while others have been found, for others, they still do not know where their loved ones are.
Many questions, Chriselda, as you're confronted by the scale of devastation, you and our colleagues there and speaking to families that really, are sharing some gut-wrenching stories. Thank you so much for giving us an update there. My colleague, SABC News Senior Reporter Chriselda Lewis, joining us live now for the very latest. Remember, at this hour, breaking news, another body has been found in the Eastern Cape. We'll bring you a bit more on this particular developing story.